Hello, welcome to I25. My name is Levi Estrada, and today I will be your teacher. How are you, Gonzalo?
I'm just fine, and you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. How about you? How are you, Luz?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, so let's start with today's class. Today's class is class number 31. So let's begin. Okay, so let's see our first topic of today. Our first topic are models. Are you acquainted with this term, the
Yeah.
models? Yes?
Yes, Levi, yes.
And we have a little box here that says fast grammar. Can you read it, please, Gonzalo?
The fast grammar says modal verbs cannot work as main verbs, different from auxiliary verbs like be, do, and have. Modal verbs express possibility, permission, or other conditions. They can be used for conditionals and future. The modal verbs are always next to another verb in the infinitive without to. Modal verbs don't need to be conjugated and have no tense.
Okay,
Examples of modal verbs are can, could, may, might, should, must, have to.
all right, perfect. So as it says here, verbs are different from the rest of the verbs. And something that I want to tell you here is that even though in this page they consider have to as a modal verb, it is not actually a modal verb. It is used similarly to the modal verbs, but it's not a modal verb in reality. Okay, so let's continue to take a closer look into each one of these modal verbs. Okay,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
perfect. Then we're going to begin with one of the most, one of the simplest modal verbs, which is can. And well, I know that we have studied can before. We know that it indicates ability or possibility. And we have some examples here. I'm going to ask you, Luz, to read it, please.
Okay. Billy and Thomas cannot help you. It can be dangerous to drive if we are tired. The restaurant can be expensive if you drink a lot of red wine. We can speak 5 languages, and we can work late tonight if you need us.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as I said, well, can, we know that is one of the simplest modal verbs. And as we know, the rules for the modal verbs are that, well, first of all, as you can see here in the second example, that we have the it, the modal verb does not change. This means that you don't have to add the s as with the other verbs, right? So for example, if I use the verb play and I am talking in third person, like he, you have to say he plays. But with can and all the rest of the modal verbs, we do not have to change the verb. It remains the same. Another rule that we have is that in order to make it negative, as in the first example, there is no need of another auxiliary. We only have to add the word not. And well, here we have the cannot, but there's another way to make can negative. Do you remember how?
Yes, can't.
Can't, exactly, yes. N apostrophe T, yeah. And in order to make questions, we have to use the modal verb and change it to the back of the sentence, like over here. It says, can I have a glass of water? Yeah. Can you help me? Etc. Something else that we have to know is that after any modal verb, after the next verb, the main verb, is in its simple form, okay? So we never use to. For example, we cannot say it can to be dangerous. That is incorrect. We have to say it can be dangerous. We never use the ing. We never use the past tense, etc. It always goes in the simple form. All right. So,
Mm,
are there any questions?
no.
No, Levi, no.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with the examples. Can you think of an example using can, Gustavo? What can you do?
Oh, Gonzalo, I can play the guitar.
Okay,
It's
that,
ability.
yeah, that's an ability. Very good. That's impressive. Okay,
Can as a possibility, I can go to the cinema today or tonight.
all right. Very good. Very good. You have the possibility. All right, very good. What about you, Luz? What can you do?
Mm, I can read really fast,
Okay,
and and in possibility, I can go out with my husband.
okay, that's great. Very good. Okay, so can is very simple. We have studied that from the beginning, so I think it's a very simple modal verb. Let's continue with the next one. Could. Could indicates possibility or ability in the past. Remember, could is very similar to can, but in the past, okay? Well, that is one of the usages of could anyway. So I'm going to ask you, Gonzalo, to read the examples.
Okay, it says Joe could speak Spanish when he was young. I could not sleep last night. Question: could you play an instrument when you were a child? You can also use could for future possibilities.
Okay, yes, this is part of the next usage of could.
Uh,
Yes. So yeah, as I told you, we use could to indicate possibility or ability in the past. So it's very similar to this, but in the past. Yes. So for example, Joe could speak Spanish when he was young, and this gives the idea that he can no longer speak Spanish, possibly. But then we can also use could for future possibilities. Yes. So this means that we can use it like in here. It says, I think it could rain later. So it's a possibility in the future. Then we have, you could pass the exam if you study it. Yes. So it's also a possibility in the future. So please, let's start with the examples. Tell me something, Gonzalo, that you could do when you were young.
okay, when I was young, I could practice boxing,
Boxing, all right, very good.
boxing.
And what about you, Luz? What could you do when you were young?
Mm, I could ride my bike with many friends.
All right, very good, very good. Now that's not longer possible, or it's more difficult, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what about a future possibility? Um, Gonzalo, can you think of something that could happen to you today or tomorrow, or that you
I
could do?
think yes, I think I could be healthier tomorrow because today I'm coughing too much. I think
Okay,
I could be healthy tomorrow, healthier or healthy tomorrow.
okay, very good, very good. What about you, Luz? Can you think of something?
Um, I think I could finish the book that I'm reading now.
Okay, very good. You could finish it probably today or tomorrow. Very good. And well as can, in interrogative phrases, could can request permission or ask about the possibilities, but is more formal. So we also use could to ask for a permission or to ask about possibilities. But we know that could is a lot more formal than can, okay? So this one says, could I be wrong? But this is really formal. You can also say, can I be wrong? But it's a little bit less formal. Or could you help me? We can also say, can you help me, right? But this is a lot more formal. That's a difference. And well, also with the last example, we are asking for something or making a request, but it's really formal. Okay, are there any questions regarding can and could?
No.
No, lady. Everything's
All
okay.
right, perfect. So we may continue. Good. Okay, so we have reached may, might, and should. Let's start with may. And it says, as could, may is used to indicate possibilities in the future. So we saw could, well, the last usage of could, the one that is for possibilities in the future. And we know that may, well, according to this, it says that may is used as could for possibilities in the future. So here we have some examples. I'm going to read the examples. I would bring an umbrella. It might rain later. It may rain later. We can also say, I would bring an umbrella. It could rain later, and it's actually the same, as well as in this one. It may be better to end this now instead of waiting until tomorrow. We can also say, it could be better to end this now instead of waiting until tomorrow, and they have the same meaning. So we know that may and could share one of the usages, right? Can you think of an example of another thing similar to what you said in the last example, Genaro?
Yeah. I would take care of myself. Today it might be okay. I'm sorry. Let me see. I just want to say the same examples before. Uh, I will take care of myself today, and I might be sick tomorrow again. Yeah,
Okay,
something
you
like that.
said might, but it's the same as may. So yes,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
may be sick. Mm-hmm.
I may be sick. May be sick tomorrow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What about you, Luz?
Mm, uh, if I've organized my time, mm, I may finish the book tomorrow.
Okay. Great. Great. Very good. Okay, so we know that may shares this usage with could. All right. It can also be used to give permissions or instructions. Examples: they may use their cell phones now. You may leave if you want. Okay, so this is very common in classrooms and in many other environments in which you give the permission to do something. So for example, when you are at a lecture or conference, the person usually say, you may be seated, right? Or you may stand, you may leave. Yes, have you heard those kind of expressions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, for example, here we have they may use their cell phones. Okay, so that you're giving the permission. You have the possibility to do it. So they may use their cell phones, or you may leave if you want. Okay. And in interrogative phrases, the use of may is more polite than can or could. So again, the usage is the very same that we have, but it's even more formal. Okay. So we can say, can I have a glass of water? Which is like, not formal, just regular. Then we say, could I have a glass of water? Which is a little bit more formal. And then may is even more formal. So we say, may I have a glass of water? Right? So yeah, that's the way it is. Okay, let's continue with might. Might is used to indicate possibilities in the present or the future. In these cases, it is a synonym of may. So once again, may, might, very similar. Examples: I would carry an umbrella. It might rain later. It might be better to end this now instead of waiting until tomorrow. As you can see, we have the same examples of may in might, and it is because they
All
are
right.
very similar. In fact, you, Gonzalo, made the sentence using might.
Yeah,
Yes?
I made a mistake.
Mhm.
By
Yeah,
mistake. mistake.
You
It was
confused
right.
it, yeah, but it's very common to confuse them because they share the same meaning. So sometimes we use one and sometimes we use the other one, and we don't really see we don't really there's not a real difference between one another. Um, and as it says here, it can also be used as may to request permits or make polite requests. Also, this use is much more common in the United Kingdom than in the United States. So what it says here is that they use might a lot more in British English rather than in the American English. But as I told you, it's actually they are basically the same. Okay, may and might, they're very, very similar. So we don't really have to look into might a lot because you can just interchange them and use them as the same. Okay, so for example, here in the last part where we have the example of may I have a glass of water, we could say, might I have a glass of water, which is a lot more British. Also here, for example, you may leave if you want, you might leave if you want. We can interchange it whenever we want to. Okay, and then we continue with should. Okay, should is a little bit different. So let's read the definition. Indicates an obligation or recommendation. Reflects an opinion about what is right. It is translated as the conditional of duty in Spanish. Okay, this last part is it's saying that in Spanish what the translation of should is deber. Okay, that's what it means. This last part. So as it says, it indicates an obligation or recommendation. So should is like a suggestion or a recommendation. Okay, I think we have studied should before too. But anyway, Luz, could you read the examples, please?
Yes, I should call. I should call my parents more often. Uh, you should not work so hard. They should practice more if they want to win the championship.
Okay, great. So yes, this is for a suggestion. Okay, for something that you should do or you should not do. And as I told you, I think we have studied this before. So I don't know. Do you like soccer, Gonzalo?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what suggestion or recommendation would you give to your national soccer team?
I think they should change the coach.
Okay, so they should change the
Change
coach.
the
Very
coach.
good,
Yes.
very good. And what about something that they shouldn't do?
They shouldn't do. Okay, they shouldn't change the strategy because last time they changed the strategy and they lost the game.
Okay, okay, so they shouldn't change the strategy. All right, very good. Are you fond of sports, Luz?
Not really. I'm
Okay,
only to
not really.
movies.
Okay, so politics. What recommendation or suggestion would you give to your president?
Uh, he should listen more carefully to advices.
Okay, he should listen to advices more carefully. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. What about something that he shouldn't do?
Mm, he shouldn't be playing music instead of reading documents.
Okay, okay. That's a local joke, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So there we used the should as a suggestion. Okay, it reflects. This is important. It reflects an opinion about what is right. Whenever we use should, we usually reflect an opinion about what we think is right. So, for example, what you said, um, he should listen to advices more carefully, is because you think that is the right thing to do. So you reflect that when you use should. Right. Then we continue with should is used in interrogative phrases to ask if there is an obligation or to ask for a recommendation. So we use should to ask for a recommendation or if there is an obligation. For example, should we leave a tip? Should I have the chicken or the steak? Where should they meet you? So we're asking like for the best option. That's the idea. When we use should in interrogative, is like what is the best option or what do people do, etc. So considering that you were, for example, in an airport, Gonzalo, what question would you make to someone who has information at an airport using should?
Um, for example, if I'm carrying four luggage or something like this, I could say, should I if I have many luggages, I ask, should I carry this luggage with me
Okay.
instead of putting them all in the luggages? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. So yeah, you ask the question of what is the best option if you should carry
Yes.
the um, the luggage with you. All right. Perfect. What about at a concert, Luz? What question would you ask to someone who has information about it using should?
Mm, should I buy the VIP tickets or is better the general next to the stage?
Okay, great. That's a good question. So you're asking for an opinion, right? Should I buy the VIP tickets or the general? What is better? Very good. Okay. So yes, this is the usage of should when we're using it in interrogative. Okay, so let's continue. Before we continue, are there any questions?
No.
No,
No.
sir.
Okay, everything is clear. Very good. Let's continue then. Okay, in use part 3, we have reached the part where we have must and have. Let's begin with must. Must indicates an obligation, prohibition, or necessity. You can also use have to in affirmative sentences. Okay, so we have some examples here. Gonzalo, could you read them, please? Skip the have to.
Yes. Okay. We must leave now or we'll be late. We must brush your teeth twice a day. You must read this book. It's fantastic. You must not drink and drive.
So let's think about an example. Gonzalo, please tell me something that you must do this week.
Well, I must have an anniversary party tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise somebody will kill me.
Okay, very good. That's great. How many years?
10 years.
Oh,
No,
10 years.
that's
10 years of
congratulations.
experience.
that's amazing.
Thank you. 10 years
Congratulations.
of 10 years of experience. Yes.
All right.
Good.
Okay. So you must have a party. If not, there will be problems in your house. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Luz? What is something that you know that you
Mm,
must do this week?
I must buy a gift for my mother-in-law and for my mother for Mother's Day.
All right. In some countries, this week is Mother's Day, right? So yeah, you must do it. I think I must do that too. Very good. And then we continue. You can also use must to indicate probability or assume something. Assume something. Examples. It must be hard for you to travel with all your children. So we usually use must like this, normally with be, because we want to say something that we believe is true. Okay, that we are almost sure that is true, right? So we can say, for example, uh, it must be difficult to fly a plane, right? Because I believe that it is very difficult to do that. For me, I am completely sure that it's difficult. Um, so, what do you think, Gonzalo, that is difficult? That you're completely sure that is difficult?
Um,
So you could
completely
say it must
difficult.
be difficult.
Yeah, it must be difficult to sleep 8 hours because I don't sleep at all. I don't know. Yeah, I
Okay,
don't. I just sleep 3 hours. So for me, it's
okay,
enough for 3 4 hours. It must be difficult to sleep 8 hours.
okay. Especially for you, right? Okay,
Yeah, yeah. For others, it's nice, but not for me.
all right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I won't get used to that.
probably, hopefully, actually. Okay, what about you, Luz? What do you consider that it must be difficult?
Mm, it must be hard to be an ER doctor because you have to
Uh,
make many decisions in seconds.
yeah, definitely. It must be really difficult. Yes. Actually, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put myself in that
Either do
position.
I.
But for those who do it, it must be very hard. Yes, you're right. Okay. And then finally, well, we have the questions or the interrogative form. And well, we have some examples here. Must she talk so much? Must you always be late? So we use the questions to ask about something that is obvious, but it's some sort of a complaint, right? So we normally use must in questions to like kind of complain. In Spanish, it's like we use the tone to ask, okay? So for example, if someone is talking too much, right? You tell someone, "Ah, must she talk so much?" And in Spanish, we would say something like, "Tiene que hablar tanto," you know? Because it's like a complaint. And this one too, like, must you always be late all the time? Because it's for a person that is always late, right? Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So, I don't know. Think about your family, and now you will start, Luz. What
Okay.
what complaint would you give to one member of your family using the must in interrogative form?
Mm, must she work so much? That's to
Uh,
my mom.
okay,
I mean,
about
she
your mom.
spends like almost 20 hours working.
All right, so
I can't
that's a
believe
lot.
it.
So your
That's a
complaint
lot.
is must she work so much?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, very good. What about you, Gonzalo? What complaint would you
Yes, I
give
have a
about your family?
yeah. Well, not a family, but a partner. It's a partner. When we are eating, he eats a lot. I mean, I all the time tell him, "Must you eat a lot?" He eats.
Okay,
He's
okay,
slim, and he eats 3 4 dishes. Can you imagine? He's completely slim. I don't know
all
how he
right,
can manage that.
okay.
Impossible.
Okay, so yeah, that's actually your complaint, and it's very good. So as we can see, we use this must in the interrogative to, give a complaint in a way. Okay, and then we continue with have to. Now, as I told you at the beginning, have to is not specifically a modal verb. In fact, it says here that it's a semi-modal verb that is used very frequently in English to express obligation. It's semi-modal because it does not follow the rules of modal verbs. So honestly, I do not consider it a modal verb. Uh, it can be semi-modal, it can be. But this means that it doesn't really follow the rules of the modal verbs. This means that we have to use, as we have here in negative, the do, the auxiliary do, or does, or did, or any other auxiliary. We can actually even use will, which is another modal verb. I will have to, whatever. And well, we can use the have to in any tense, right? So I can say I have to, uh, I have had to, many possibilities. But the usage of this is very similar to must, is to indicate that there is an obligation to do something, okay? Only in affirmative, of course. So we have some examples here. Can you read the examples, Luz?
Yes. Uh, I have to wear. You have to wear. He, she, it has to wear. We have to wear. They have to wear. I have to wear uniform at work. The doctor says my sister has to stop smoking.
Okay, so, well, the first 5 sentences are, well, they are not really sentences, but the first five parts of the examples are only to see that we have to use with he, she, it, the has, and with I, you, we, and they, we use have. As in any, like when we use have for anything, right? We always have to use, change it like that. Um, then, well, the last two, yes, they are examples, and it says, I have to wear uniform at work. So we could change that for must. I must wear uniform at work, and it's very similar. And now must is a little bit stronger, okay? The obligation is stronger than have, but they are very, very, very similar. And then we have the negative. And I'm going to read it really fast. I do not have to wear, you do not have to wear, he, she, it does not have to wear, we do not have to wear, they do not have to wear. I do not have to pay this bill until November. She does not have to work on Saturdays. Okay, so let's continue with the next page in order to take a look at this, well, take a closer look at this. And well, here we have the final part of the have to, and we have the questions, okay? So, do I have to wear? Do you have to wear? Does she, it have to wear? Do we have to wear? Do we have to work? Do they have to work every day? Does she have to take an exam? Okay, so here we have all the examples. Again, the first five are only to see that we use the have to as in present simple. Now, this is very important. Do not confuse must not with do not, okay? And why is this important? Because in affirmative, must and have to, they have very similar meanings, right? So must is like an obligation, and have to, very, very similar. Maybe a little bit, a degree of the obligation is a little bit lower, but they are very, very similar. But in negative, they change a lot, because must not expresses a prohibition. So if I tell you, you must not speak, then you are prohibited. It is prohibited to speak, right? But if I tell you, you do not have to work tomorrow, or you do not have to speak, using the same example, you do not have to speak, you don't have to speak, it means that you don't have to do it, you're not obligated to do it, but you can do it, okay? There is the possibility that you can do it. And here we have some examples. I do not have to work tomorrow. Okay, I am not obligated. I'm not obligated to work tomorrow, but I can do it. Yes, which is very different to this one. I must not smoke at work. I cannot do it. It is forbidden. Okay, so must not is for a prohibition, and have to is for the absence or of obligation. Is it clear? Are there any questions?
No,
No?
everything is clear.
Okay, great. Okay, so this has been all for today's class, the class number 31. My name, as I told you, is Levi Estrada, and I was very happy to be your teacher today. Thank you very much, I25 thanks you. Remember to do your homework and the exercises in the platform. That's it. Bye.
Bye bye, Levi.
Thank you,
Bye
Levi.
bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye, Luz.
Bye.